everybody, welcome to Daddy's Game Time. Today I'm here at Fanime 2016 with a very special guest.
I'm Gilles, author of the Anime Companion, Anime Essentials, Anime Companion 2, and I just blabber a lot about Japanese stuff.
Excellent. That's what we're here for today. Now, manga and Japanese animation has been around for a long time. When did you first get started or get hooked into this culture that they have?
Basically, when I was a kid, you saw things occasionally, but they were just cool cartoons. Mm-hmm. You didn't think of it as Japanese or American. But in 1977, I finished my BA and was getting ready to go to grad school. I'd already become a bit of a cinema buff. I'd go see movies. I would watch the movie. I would get a drink. I'd go sit back down, and I would sit there during the second showing, looking at the camera work, the editing process, the way silence and music were used in movies, kind of absorbing it. I wasn't doing it academically. I wasn't reading books on it. I was just absorbing it. 77, I'm walking through Japantown in San Francisco. There's a store named Mikado, and in the window, they're showing a science fiction anime. I look at it and I go, oh, that's cool. And I go, wait a minute, this is cinemagraphic. It's got pans, it's got tilts, it's got distance, field focusing work, all sorts of things, camera work, that you almost never saw in American animation.
And this is 77 we're talking about?
Yeah, 77. So it's the type of stuff you would see in an expensive theatrical feature. And this was a low-budget TV show. So that was impressive, and that kind of got me hooked. So for years, I would occasionally run into somebody who knew something, occasionally see something at an art house theater. But there wasn't much available in the 70s and 80s. I didn't have a TV, so I didn't know what was on TV. Then in 1990, a friend of mine called me up, UC Berkeley. He says, UC Berkeley's got a Japanese animation club. They're meeting tonight. My immediate response was, where do you want to have dinner? So I started going to the Cal Animage Alpha meetings at UC Berkeley, and I did that regularly for quite a few years. Learned so much. Admittedly, in the early days, you were watching something that was a videotape, copy of a copy of a copy that was blurry, and there was no projector. It was a TV monitor mounted on the wall, and you were given a sheet of paper that listed the characters and had a synopsis of the story. You had to memorize that because when they turned the lights out, you couldn't read it. So, and it was the most incredible, cool thing you could see because the only way you could get it.
Wow,
of course, over time it's changed.
That's really cool. It reminds me of my high school days where we used to try to get wrestling matches from Japan that weren't televised here in the States. And we always had this one friend that would say, I have a friend who has a friend who just came back from Japan. They got these, and we get these VHS tapes that were videotaped 3 times. So the quality was terrible.
Right.
But there we were sitting around the television screen enjoying these matches.
Oh, yeah.
Now, back then, was this something that was widely used amongst people of your age, or was it you were kind of on the outside from whatever was mainstream?
Yeah, for a lot of it, I was on the outside of organized fandom because I was busy with grad school and relationship. The people who were on the inside, it was tape trading. There were guys in Japan who would tape things and send it to people in the U.S. From my understanding is Rob Miles, who's here at the convention. He was in Japan at the time, and so he was taking things and sending them back here. Part of what they call the CFO, Cartoon Fantasy Organization, which grew out of science fiction fandom. And then, so that was the early days of tape trading. Sometimes it was somebody here would tape, an American science fiction TV show and send it to Japan, and guys in Japan would tape stuff there and send it here. You never knew what you were going to get. It would probably include really cool commercials for toys and stuff. It was like straight off TV. So it was quite a cultural experience.
No, I'm getting flashbacks right now as we're speaking. It takes me back to when I was 7 years old, and I was used to cartoons that we show here, like Voltron. It would show He-Man, etc. And my mother took us to Mexico for vacation, and I would say a good 90% of what was on television for children was Japanese anime. And and that's when I was first introduced to Mazinger Z.
Mm-hmm.
As we would call him Mazinger Z.
Yeah.
What was that first experience like for you?
Well, the very first experience, actually, I didn't know it was Japanese. I just knew it was incredibly cool. Was Tezuka, the movie Sayuki, based on Tezuka's manga, was shown in the U.S. in 1963, based on the old Journey to the West story. I mean, it was redubbed into English with Frankie Avalon and everything, and all of the singing songs were redone. It was like a Disney-style musical type thing. But it had some of the most interesting demons and nasty critters in the world. And as a kid, I remember walking out with my friends, and our eyes are this big around. We're going, God, that was cool. And there was nothing like that again in our childhoods.
Right.
Because, you could get Asteroid, you could Speed Racer. I couldn't. It wasn't on our local TV. I'd hear about it. I had friends who watched Ultraman. I never saw it because it wasn't on our local TV. But it was part of that entertainment mix. And so it was just cartoons, and we wanted to see more like it, but we just couldn't get it. I remember actually old black and white silent cartoons, which were just action done to music, which more recently I've discovered were Japanese, and they were on TV. So that was it. But when it consciously became known as something that wasn't American, it was an import, is when I stumbled across things in Japantown. And I started seeing all the books in Kinokuniya and recognizing, oh yeah, I've seen some of that. I've seen some of this. And I started paying attention to the schedule of the art house theaters.
Right.
Be showing stuff.
Kind of start looking for that treasure.
Yeah, you're looking for it. You're hunting. It's so elusive. You're willing to put in a lot of effort just to get that little tiny thing, because that's all you can get. And it's incredibly cool. Nowadays, I go to the dealer's room and there's a ton of stuff, and it's incredibly cool. So I have to find the incredibly cool thing I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's right. There's definitely a lot more access to all this material, especially with the internet. The internet's like an open door for pretty much almost anything that you want nowadays.
The thing is, though, there's a lot of old shows you can't get. So the internet's good. If you walk into streaming sites for the new shows, if you're looking for something from the 1970s, it's been difficult until recently. Now, these discotheque is releasing a lot of those old shows. So, it's like watching Cutie Honey on DVD, going, God, 1972 children's program. And if you put it on American TV, parents would be in an uproar because of the humor poking fun of adults.
Right.
Often has a sexual component and stuff.
Oh my.
And stupid adults.
Yeah.
Which like Dragon Ball.
Well, it's definitely a different culture. They have certain things that they accept, or more willing to accept,
Right.
That are different from the Western culture.
Right.
Now, you mentioned earlier cinema. You were a cinema buff. I'm a little bit of a cinema buff as well. At one point, I was filming in my major was film, so I got a lot of studies done in film. So I also, when I watch movies, when I watch these films, I look at the cinematography. I listen for the sound cues, for the sound scores and all that. So technically, I enjoy watching films from that standpoint, as well as just sitting back and just potato chipping out and just zoning out on a silly story or whatever.
I've still maintained that habit of just watching it and then analyzing later.
Right. Especially with good movies.
Yeah.
Really good.
Oh,
Mad Max, for example, is one of the modern classics, I think. But anyway, what I'm trying to get to with this is we're seeing a golden age right now in comic book movies, or comic books being brought to life through film. And I think it's almost a travesty that we haven't been able to see these really high quality AAA Hollywood films, maybe based on something that's manga or based on anime, which I think would probably be able to translate better than even comics, because comics are just still images, and some of them, the storylines may be not so congruent with reality. Whereas I've always seen anime as, as having that fantasy aspect, however, still being kind of grounded. What do you think has to be done, or do you think it ever even will be done?
I there's
all of it.
potential. I mean, there have definitely been things that have been done that were influenced by manga and anime. Think of the original RoboCop. That was heavily influenced by
Right.
Eggman. And, the directors talked about how he watched the cartoon as a kid,
Mhm.
and that was on American TV also. He saw it in Europe, and so there's potential there. And of course, Pacific Rim was heavily influenced by kaiju films.
Right.
And it was very much an homage
The
to kaiju
Matrix.
films.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm hoping you get something direct,
Yeah, something direct. It's got to be done well, is the thing. And there have been some real failures. The Dragon Ball movie, for example.
Oh, God.
Occasionally, there's been an okay adaptation of fiction. So when the Tom Cruise movie, I can't remember the English title.
I think they changed the title to Live, Die, Repeat.
What's Live, Die, Repeat was what they thought. Yeah.
Because it was The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, Day After Tomorrow.
And then they changed it because it was such a failure. They changed it for, I think,
video
like the Blu-ray release or something.
Yeah.
Which was
the original
silly.
title, I think, was much better.
Right.
All
right.
You Need Is Kill. And that novel is a good novel, and the movie's a fairly good adaptation. I mean, I don't like the ending. They changed the ending.
They did.
The ending was much more powerful in the original story.
Okay.
It was like,
So that comes from manga?
Well, actually from a novel.
Or from a novel?
Yeah, but the ending on that novel reaches into your gut and twists it in a way a good ending is. It's got very good. It's got very tragic elements, but it works really well.
Right.
And they kind of went wishy-washy on it.
Yeah, it seemed to me like they were going one direction, and suddenly it's like, well, let's leave it open to make sequels.
Yeah, make a sequel or something.
Yeah.
But adaptation is possible. It's like you can take a manga, you can take a movie, you can take an anime, just like you can take an American comic book, and you can do an adaptation. You just need to do it with heart. You need to do it with integrity. One of my favorite examples of a novel being done as a movie is the French movie Diva. Gorgeous movie, very beautiful, very sweet, very touching. Don't even try to read the novel. The novel is garbage. They took an incredible piece of trash and made it a beautiful film. So you can take a good story and make a beautiful film.
Right, right.
You need to change things, of course, when you're adapting from one media to another.
It's interesting.
But still.
Coming from a film background, I have friends that always say the book was better. The book was better. And I think to myself, do you really want like an extra hour of just dialogue?
Right.
Or of the person's thoughts? Like, do you really think that would make a movie better? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. My thing is the movie good? Is it a good movie?
Right.
And I usually say the movie is different. Not the movie is better. The movie is different.
I see
However,
it as like
sometimes
just a
the book
different
is better.
POV,
It varies your point of view, then, definitely. And so, there's potential. A lot of things could be done. It's just that they tend to do movies as formulas. They tend
That's
to say,
true.
this has been successful, let's find something like it, do it again.
Act 1, Act 2, Act 3.
Yeah, and they say, okay, we've got to have this kind of character, we've got to have this kind of character interaction. And it starts diverging from the original story.
That's so true.
And what makes the original, they need to look at what makes the original story interesting. What is it about the characters? What is it about the setting that makes it an intriguing tale? That makes it a tale that you want to see what happens? What is it about the characters that you want to root for? Or you want to see the guy get splattered? In the case of the nasty villain. Why is he a nasty villain? The original story might tell you that. The movie might cut that out. You got to pay attention to what the core of the tale is that makes it interesting, and don't mess with that. If you want to do a story that's different, just do a story that's different. Don't say it's so and so and make it different. Just do a whole new story. And for God's sake, get actors who fit. If you want a famous name actor, they don't have to be the main role. In fact, you can be nebulous. You can say so and
I'm
so.
thinking Street Fighter as you're saying this.
Yeah.
Like Guile played by a French Canadian man.
Yeah. Right.
And Bison played by a Latino actor, Raul Julia.
Yeah.
Everybody's doesn't fit.
Right.
You know, to this
It's like,
mythology.
what is it? Starship Troopers. The guy's a Filipino, but yet they have a blonde actor.
Right.
Blonde, blue-eyed European actor. It's like, okay, give me a break. There's all this potential. You were talking about going to Mexico and seeing all the anime. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is the English-speaking world came last. We were just discovering anime when all of Latin America, all of Europe, all of East Asia and Southeast Asia had been watching it for years. People had grown up on these shows, since like the 1970s. The 1970s is when it first entered into Italy and France and it spread to the rest of Southern Europe. Not so much Germany, they came a little bit later too, but the English-speaking world was very much a latecomer. That, in some ways, this is an advantage because we started getting subtitled releases earlier than the rest of the world because the rest of the world was getting only redubbed releases. So that's made a difference, but they also had much bigger fandoms. So Go Nagai has an office for international licensing in Italy, and they handle worldwide international licensing out of Italy.
Wow, that's
Because Italy is such a significant
Right.
market for this stuff. The latest Lupin, the third TV series, was partially funded by Italian funding. So it's set mostly in Italy and San Marino, which is a country of 3,000 people.
That's right.
It really exists. We've come to it last. So we're just discovering. Getting back to the Hollywood thing is we're getting these comic book movies because they're American properties, and in some cases they're actually owned by the studio doing the movies, and so that way the money just circles within the local economy. When you're licensing something from overseas, you're having to send a percentage of your profit to another company.
I see.
So, and the same thing with television. A TV network could show really good anime, have a good fandom, good following, high ratings, be sending a percentage of the money overseas. Or they could do a mediocre show that gets much smaller viewership and actually make more money because they control it all.
Yeah,
So
it's all about that bottom line.
Yeah, the bottom line is an issue. So in a way, anime and manga are still a niche market in America. Face it, when a new production for something significant opens in Japan, it's not on TV news like the other entertainment stuff is. It's just Hollywood. That's still a niche market. But it's a growing niche market. It's a powerful niche market. It's hopefully going to be an influential niche market.
Now I've seen it penetrate deeper into the video game world, where it's been widely accepted for a long time.
And that's because of the relationship in the video game world with overseas video games. The Japanese industry has been fairly significant. Tons of video gamers would modify their machines or buy players from overseas so they could buy cartridges from overseas. All of that, the whole routine. People actually going to Tokyo and hitting Super Potato to buy those old games that their old console at home was running because they've taken a chip out to put a new chip in, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
That's a dedicated fan.
Yeah, that's some hardcore fans that really want their video game played
Right.
in a very specific way. Okay, I'm going to leave off with just one last question.
Okay.
And you can give us a short answer or elaborate if you want. What at manga or Japanese anime would you love to see Hollywood do as a AAA title, like with all the bells and whistles? And who would you like directing it?
Oh, man. I would say Del Toro directing. And I would say, this is going to be way off the wall, Wild 7.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with Wild 7.
Wild 7 was a 1970s manga that was very popular, actually, I think 69 to 79. It was a period of upheaval, rebellion, a lot of corruption being uncovered, links with gangsters. You had the Lockheed scandal where bribing Japanese officials to get contracts, all of this stuff going on. And it's about a prosecutor who gets so sick of the whole routine after he knows someone has committed a hideous murder and he can't go after the guy, that he sets up a special police unit with the help of superiors that is assigned to go after select groups of criminals, and they never arrest.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And why Del Toro?
Del Toro, I think, would do a good job with the action, and I think because a lot of it is the characters. They're really diverse. One is a demolition expert and criminal. Another one is a guy who killed some people in a fight. He's very young. Another one is a gang boss who is brought in, not out of prison like the others were, but he's brought in because they simply explained to him his lifestyle is going to kill him because he looks like he's middle-aged and he's only like 30. Mm-hmm. Another guy is a baseball pitcher who rigged games. Another guy's a circus performer who killed some people. You know, it's all these like really nasty guys, and they're put together as a motorcycle team in the police. There is a live-action movie that was done in Japan. It came out in 2011. The Japanese Blu-ray has English subtitles. The Japanese Blu-rays play in American
Well,
theaters.
we're going to have to check that one out.
Yeah, Wild 7, and it's like less than $12.
Really?
It's dirt
Now,
cheap.
did they do it justice, do you think?
They did it very much justice. They did changes. The characters' backgrounds have been changed slightly and so forth. They've got good actors. The look is different for some of them. But you've got the personalities, and the guy who's the official in charge of them is as icy cold as he is in the original manga. At one point, he's telling his people, "You're just machines, and you're expensive machines. It took a lot to get you. It took a lot to train you, but you can be replaced. I give you a target, you go after it." And he walks out of the room.
Oh, my.
And it's heartfelt because you start understanding these characters. You start sympathizing with them. You start understanding, in some cases, why they did these things. One guy says, "I killed 4 people," but his boss says, "You murdered 3 people." No, he killed 4 in his eyes, and that's part of the story. And it's an action movie. It's a well-done action. Horribly expensive. I don't know. Japanese movies are made under dinky budgets.
Right.
You know, it's like you pick your average Hollywood movie. Your average Hollywood movie has the budget of all of the films in Japan in 1 year. You know, and so this film was like a lot of money because they've got like huge scenes in huge shopping malls where they're taking over the entire complex. They've got like lots of things being blown up, damaged. Some of it's computer effects, but you can only do so much. You know, sometimes it's cheaper to crash a car into something and blow it up than it is to do it on computers. And so they did a phenomenal job with it. And, admittedly, I'm a fan. I got the 6 volumes of the manga that came out in English, and I've got the old OVA on VHS because it never came out on DVD. But I was very pleased with the movie. It's well done.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for talking manga and anime and Hollywood with us today.
Okay.
I really appreciate it.
All right.
Remember, folks at home, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you like manga and anime, you're in the right spot.
Mm-hmm. And watch more of it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All
It was a
right.
pleasure.
And check out the Wild 7.
Oh, I will. Definitely will.